Welcome back, guys, to Pirate Talk Radio. My name is Davrim, and thank you for being patient with me the past couple weeks as I was working, as I mentioned in the last episode, working on a concert that I do every single year, doing lighting for it. And if you are a patron, you were able to see some of the video slash shots of behind the scenes. You were also, I also did a couple hour stream during the rehearsal, though I wasn't able to really talk because I was obviously working on the rehearsal. But the other thing that the cameras, because of all the bright lights and stuff, and it's where the camera is, it's a dark area, so it's hard to focus. So I know it wasn't the greatest picture that you could get, but you can definitely go check that out. Twitch.tv/Davrim should be a couple weeks ago. Live music under the VODs if you want to check that out and kind of take a peek at it. Again, wasn't using any sort of professional sound equipment, wasn't using any sort of really super high-end camera. It was just a webcam. Just a lot of equipment there, so I didn't want to have to bring in more and then pack it up once everything was done. But I hope those of you who were able to check out some of the behind-the-scenes things, check out some of the non-Patreon pictures and stuff I posted. I hope you guys enjoyed that little trip. But again, thank you very much, everyone, for being patient. I know it's been a little bit before an episode. I was anticipating being able to do some episodes while I was out doing that concert. Unfortunately, this year, with how the rehearsals lined up, the drive time, and my day job, it just wasn't happening. It just wasn't gonna happen. So again, apologize for that, but we're back now. Was able to play for the first time, really in a couple weeks since that concert, since the last stream. Able to play a little bit yesterday. I know some of you tuned into the stream on both YouTube and Twitch, so thank you very much for that, coming by and saying hello. But PlayStation 5, it's launched. Season 12 has launched. Got to dive into that a little bit yesterday and had a lot of fun. Got to play with the new weapons, the double barrel pistol, the throwing knives. Got engaged in a Fort of Fortune that I think in the end took about 4 hours to do. Most of the stream was fighting over that Fort of Fortune. Just ships coming back and back and back and back and back, spawning really close and just being able to continue to come back and not just interrupting us doing it and then trying to sink us. One ship who came back, I think on their fourth time, did eventually sink us. We came back, blew them out of the water, and then kept going. And then a galleon came back like 3 times. It was just, people just kept coming back. And though I know that's part of the game, how it is right now, I really think they need to look into how many times you're sunk on a single server before it moves you to a different server, both for those players' experience, but also for those on the server experience. Because I'll tell you what, unless they're starting people who get sunk on the furthest possible island that you could spawn at, it's just really rough trying to get a fort done, an event done, when you're sinking these folks and they literally spawn 2 islands away, and they can be back at you with base supplies enough to annoy you, and cause some damage within just a couple minutes. It makes doing things like the Fort of Fortune very challenging. Again, it was a lot of fun. I loved being able to fight multiple different crews. That was refreshing to see the seas alive. That was something that was super exciting to me. But seeing the same sloop 4 times, seeing the same galleon 3 times. There was a couple other sloops that came in. They tried their luck, and then they buggered off. There was a brig that came in and tried its luck and then buckered off. But the galleon that came back 3 times, the sloop that came back 4 times, those folks spawning real close there is just a very frustrating experience for the players trying to do the fort. Like, I get it. It's got PvP in it. I enjoyed fighting, but fighting the same folks over and over, it's like being outside on a farm and just those gnats or those flies just keep buzzing around, and you're just like, for fuck's sake, go away. But like I said, having the seas alive, having contest over the Fort of Fortune, that was a lot of fun. It was just frustrating that it was the same boat spawning real close and going over and over again. So let's talk about the launch of PlayStation 5 and Season 12. Overall, I will give Rare credit. They did something really well this time that they haven't been doing for a long time, and something that I've been telling on this show that they should really do, and that's not launch on a Thursday. So they have, for the longest time, always had their launches on Thursday. And the problem with launching on a Thursday is the next day is Friday. A lot of companies nowadays are working from home. So I'll be honest with you, if you're working from home, a lot of times you're not working the full day. There's you're gonna go do laundry, you're gonna go get lunch and cook yourself something, you're gonna go do dishes, you're gonna do some housework. Look, I've worked from home a lot. I get a lot of stuff done at work, but if I actually timed myself of how many hours that I'm working when I'm working from home, it is less than if I was in an office and I didn't have the home life distractions. Furthermore, people take vacations, especially during the summer and things like this. And this was a massive launch, as we talked about. So having them release on a Tuesday, which means they have Wednesday, they have Thursday with people most likely in the office, and then they have Friday if they had to do any sort of emergency maintenance or patching. That is smart. That is kind of an industry standard. World of Warcraft does it. Destiny does it. EverQuest did it. Probably still does it. Final Fantasy, all those folks do their maintenance, weekly resets, patches on a Tuesday, so that way if anything goes horribly wrong in production, they've got multiple days to fix it before the weekend. Because again, once you get to the weekend, it's not going to get resolved. And we saw that during the beta test. We saw that during the beta test of PS5, players having issues logging in, and it was the weekend. And Rare, quite frankly, responded, hey, we know you're having issues. We'll get to it on Monday. And I was a little kind of drawn back about that tweet. Like, I get it. It was beta. It was just during testing. But like, when people are struggling to test your game, that's some of those PlayStation players' first experiences with your game. They paid for the ability to play the game early, and you're telling them, well, we're not going to do anything about it till Monday. I think that was a pretty crap response from Rare. They, in my mind, should have had all hands on deck, even though it was a beta, just to make sure those players had a good experience and those players, had the ability to play and test or whatever they were doing. So I was nervous going into the week of launch that Rare was going to make a huge blunder, a huge mistake. It was going to look bad. But overall, they did a good job, and they made the right decision to do it on a Tuesday. I didn't see too many people having experience issues. Nothing really super negative. I know recently I saw Felicia Day, who was on who did Geek and Sundry for a long time. She's a very famous actress in the nerd community. She was playing Sea of Thieves, so it was really cool and really hyped to see some famous people playing Sea of Thieves and really getting the name of Sea of Thieves out there. And it was relatively clean. Yes, there are some server issues. I'm sure everyone has experienced some server issues. I know yesterday during the live stream, servers were not feeling too good. There was a lot of rubber banding, a lot of jittering, but they were playable. It wasn't like the rubber banding made it so I didn't want to play. It wasn't that the jitteringness made it impossible to play. It was frustrating, when you're sitting there and you lined up a shot and the game jitters and then your shot misses. I'm not a great shot, but I know some of my shots would have hit had the servers not jittered. So they got some cleanup to do there. I know they've recently done a maintenance, which I've been told improved the servers slightly. But the main focus of that was the Megalodon, trying to get the Megalodon back to a point where it's not just a stupid fish that just swims around and around and doesn't do anything. And getting it back to where the Megalodon should be. We did experience one yesterday. Unfortunately, we were sailing away from it, so it really didn't engage us. But in the past, you start fighting that Megalodon, and then all of a sudden, like, it doesn't attack you, and then it just kind of buggers off, and you're just like, what Well, I wanted that thing. Like I still have commendations to kill the megalodons as a pirate legend. So and they drop okay loot. So, but very, I was impressed. You do it on a Tuesday. You had plenty of time to emergency fix things. But servers are questionable. I will say that. But overall, I didn't see too many people screaming or yelling. I know under their known issue section on their website, there were some PlayStation things that are still left open, like people unable to download the game who bought premium early, and like I don't understand why that's still a known issue because it's launched, so you don't get to download it early anymore. So I don't even know why they're tracking that. But again, just kind of goes back to the quality side of cleaning up stuff on Rare. They even struggle on that because it's like, well, the game's launched. There's no reason to worry about PlayStation players downloading the game early because it's out for everyone. So why are you even tracking that as a known issue? But beside the point, it's still on their list. Um, Combat felt okay. I was using a lot of the throwing knives and the double barrels. The client side hit registration felt pretty good. There's obviously some issues where you shoot something and it's supposed to die, and it doesn't. You shoot it again and it dies. But overall, it felt like combat was pretty good. Sword is completely busted right now. There's no concept of a block anymore, which really is disappointing because they had the sword in a really fun space about 2 seasons ago or something. It was really fun, maybe even last season at the beginning, I don't remember, but they had it in a really good spot where sword play was starting to return to kind of the glory days where block was working, the interaction between the sword and players was working really, really, really well. And I don't understand what they keep changing in order to break this, right? I don't get it because they had it locked in. They had it feeling good. And I just don't understand what they did that broke it. But it doesn't feel good anymore. Like the block is not working, and it feels really bad when you're just getting sliced through on the block. It's like, why even use the sword against another sword if they're just going to be able to swipe through you? So whatever they did to fix the sword, a season ago, a season and a half ago, whatever it is, they need to revisit that and make sure that those type of things aren't getting broke. I understand in a live service game that things are going to get broke all the time. I play Destiny, I've played World of Warcraft. I get it. Live service is a hard system when you've got all the different systems out in the world trying to work together and make it function and come out with new content and not bust something from the past. I get it. Live service is probably one of the hardest things to program, but in the same regards, you got to do a better job of making sure things that you've got in place that players like either don't get broken or you're quick to respond when it does get broken. And unfortunately, Rare has proven that they're not good at either. They're not good at quickly responding to things which break or which they break. And they're really not good at quickly getting back to fixing things. I hope they're moving towards a direction like that. But again, until I see that consistency, I won't. But the sword definitely doesn't feel good. I still use it because it has a lot of mobility features, right? With the sword lunge and the dodging. But in general, I was double gunning most of yesterday, either with the double barrel pistol and the throwing knife, or the old school blunderbuss and flintlock, or eye of reach. So I was back to double gunning a lot yesterday, just because again, every time I used the sword in a PvP moment, the block wasn't working and it just felt bad. So then changed to double gun, knock them back, shoot them, whatever you can, just keep them at range and not have to deal with the sword swiping. Um, Another thing that was really important that Rare did fix relatively quickly was the open crew feature. Now, I know I don't play an open crew, right? I always play with folks I know. I know folks jump into the stream all the time. I know folks have asked me in the past to play. And quite frankly, it's nothing against people who ask. It's nothing against the random people out there who want to play with a content creator no matter how big or small. It's not about people who are in the Discord wanting to play. It's truly about, I want to be able to play with people I know, because the, the people that I know, I I I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to say. I know we jive well, and I know, it'll be a fun experience. I've played with people off stream. At times when I've been invited to play with folks, I'll do that. But as far as like on stream and content creation, and as I said, I don't have a lot of time to play to begin with. I truly stick with folks that I know. Now, I know there's definitely a fun aspect of open crew and seeing the chaos that could ensue, and that would, but that's not something that brings enjoyment. But for a lot of folks who may like to play with people and they don't have friends who play the game, or their friends aren't available, open crew has always been a very important aspect of the game, so people can play with others and not just solo sloop. No matter if it's a crappy experience or not, at least you're still playing with other players and you've got more opportunities to do things as a group. And that feature was unfortunately disabled during the PS5 launch. Again, you're adding another platform. I get it. There's something there. But Rare did quickly react to this. Again, that is a core feature of the game, playing with others. And now that you have PlayStation out there in the environment, you want to make sure that those players feel like the world's alive, feel like, the game's not dead, feel like there's players out there actually playing it. And part of that is having open crew working. So I'm glad they did get that resolved, even though it's not something that I'm going to take part in. I think it was very important for the PlayStation 5 launch, and really making sure those players are feeling like the game is alive. And speaking of PlayStation players, this question was asked in chat yesterday. Yes, I have encountered at least one set of PlayStation players, because I recognize the cosmetics, the sales cosmetics on their ship. And again, unfortunately, I completely disagree with Rare's thing of you can only use the PlayStation cosmetics when you play on PlayStation. Really just completely shits on what they've done for, I don't know, what, their entire 6-year game. The fact that they made this pivot now, I'm sure there's something in the PlayStation contract that says, that's required. They're not going to say that. They're just trying to make it, do the PR spin on it, even though they know they're going to take a lot of unfortunate hate for it. And they already have out there people wanting that weapon set, people wanting the sales. But again, I'm sure it's somewhere in the legalese of the contract that those are supposed to be PlayStation exclusives. They have to stay PlayStation exclusive. If you're not playing on PlayStation, don't get them. But again, Rare's not going to let that out of the box, because that would just add a whole nother level of criticism and things from people who don't understand contracts. So I think Rare is approaching it the best way that they can, saying, hey, these are exclusive and this is how it works, without divulging information that this was part of the contract. Because then what you're going to see is people throwing shade at PlayStation, or throwing shade at Rare for even signing that deal. And here's the thing: when you're running a live service game like Sea of Thieves and you're limited to only Xbox and PC, you added Steam, which was good, but that's still PC. And now you've got an entire new ecosystem out there, and you're one of the first Xbox games to breach into PlayStation and have crossplay. This is so much bigger than Sea of Thieves, and so much bigger than a cool weapon set that I want. This has ramifications for Xbox PlayStation relations in the future. So yes, contracts are important, regardless of us, the players, don't like it. And, maybe in the future there'll be a way that we can get those cosmetics. I don't know. But right now, I'm sure it's in the legalese, and there's nothing that we or Rare can do about it. Speaking of things that are cool, people that are cool, people that are glorious and notorious, are wonderful and amazing patrons, and I would like to give you all a shout out now. But before I do, I know I've had this question from multiple patrons in Discord. Is there an issue with Patreon? Yes, there is. Patreon has been dropping subscriptions. I know I was getting some emails from the current patrons dropping to free subscriptions and things like this, and saying, hey, I didn't do this, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Patreon is having issues with with the renewal of your Patreon subscription. So just go in there and double check. Make sure if you are choosing to continue your subscription, you want the podcast early, you want behind the scenes, you want other content from me that you get. You want the t-shirts or the merch. You want the whatever unlocks you get with the level of amazing support that you do. Just go in and make sure that it is still active, because there are currently issues with Patreon, and unfortunately some of the auto renews aren't happening. So do go in and check that. But right now, I want to take a moment to thank the active patrons who are currently and continually supporting me like amazing sauce humans they are. James I. Geffis, L Cute, Big Bad Pad, and Skamelt 666. Thank you all for your continued support of Pirate Talk Radio and my content. Again, I apologize. The content has been lacking. I do have some ideas, and it's just a matter of finding time and execution. As I mentioned, a lot of things going on at work. My workload is now well past capacity. As you all know, I work very hard and many hours. And with the latest set of layoffs that happened back in April, it's just a lot more work and a lot more things. So I'm trying very hard. Trust me, I am. I've got some ideas to add some more streams throughout the week. Again, I know many of you are UK time, so I apologize. You'll have to watch the VOD because they will be later in the evening Eastern Standard Time. And I still have some other ideas to bump up the podcast episodes. Not necessarily Sea of Thieves content, but another idea that I have. So thank you again. Each of you are amazing humans, and I appreciate it very, very, very much. So let's talk about the new weapons, the double-barreled pistol and the throwing knives. Now, I had a lot of fun with those yesterday. Now, what I will say is the throwing knives, I'm going to have to keep playing with them. I don't see myself using those in a PvP system. The aiming off the finger, the finger that's in the front, is a little weird for me. It's just something I'm going to have to get used to. But there is obviously the delay in when you switch from a stabbing motion. You've got the the animation where you flip the knife, throw, and then you throw it. It's like a reload animation, to be honest. But I've seen a lot of people out there having fun with them in PvP. I'm just not 100% sure with my horrible old man skills of PvP that I will be utilizing a throwing knife much in PvP. I think I used it yesterday and got a kill, but they were engaged in combat with one of my crew members, and I came upstairs and I saw the fight going on, and I just whipped a knife in there and killed them. But I don't think, as far as a normal fighting with people, that I would be utilizing those. Maybe in the future, if I keep practicing with them, it might become a weapon that I like. I do think they're a lot of fun. I like the big stab and the quick stab and the throwing. I was killing skeletons left, right, and center with them yesterday, so I think they're a lot of fun. I really think it would be cool that once you throw all your knives and you're just down to the leather, you could flip the leather around, like slap people with it. Not do 1 point of damage of your 100 health. Just slap people for 1 damage. Just pat, 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 pat. Just be this annoying fly. Just because if you have a double barrel pistol, you have a gun, you run out of ammo, you run out of throwing knives, at least you can whack them with something. You're still probably going to die because they probably have a sword, but at least you can whack them with something and just go out swinging. I think that would be kind of funny. The other thing that I was thinking about with the throwing knives that they could do as a future cosmetic, obviously they have a couple cosmetics in the Emporium right now for the throwing knives. Bit disappointed they didn't have any in there for the double barrel, but I'm sure those will come down the future. Would love to see an obsidian throwing knife. Would love to see a Reaper throwing knife, an Athena throwing knife. Would love to see an obsidian double barrel. Oh, I'd love to see an obsidian double barrel. But then there's some also you can unlock with commendations. But the disappointing thing for me when it came to the throwing knife was some of the exploits that they got rid of, or some of the exploits that unfortunately have came back because of the throwing knife. So, for example, one of them being you can stick 5 throwing knives in most capstans and stop them from being able to drop the anchor very very easily. I think the throwing knives, just like storage crates and boxes, should not be able to fit on the capstan. I think this was a miss from Rare. I think this was an oversight. I know it has been reported by multiple of their content creators, including Fuzzy. I actually saw him live reporting it when he figured it out. But again, I think that was a simple miss. I don't think it's huge. Again, the throwing knives hitboxes are relatively small, so there are ways to get to the capstan. It just makes it a little bit more annoying, which is honestly what all that stuff is anyways, with the turkey walls and the storage crate walls and dropping storage crates on your capstan. It was all just to be annoying. You could still get to the capstan if you tried hard enough, but the idea is you shouldn't have to sit there and go through stuff, especially since they fixed that in the past with the boxes, and now it's back with these. So I think that's something they do need to look at and kind of address relatively quickly to bring that back in line. But let's talk about those cosmetics for a second. I was on a train of thought and I bounced to the capstan thing. Let's talk about those cosmetics. So we've got what is it? It's the sailor throwing knife. There's the constellation throwing knife. There's the vampire crypt looking throwing knife, and there's an ashen trash and fire throwing knife. You know what would be a really cool throwing knife? I was thinking about this yesterday. I talked about it on the stream. A playing card, right? You know, like X-Men Gambit, like he has playing cards and he throws them and they explode. I'm not saying make the knife explode, but just make the throwing knife a playing card. Like you can find metal throwing cards out there today. People can stick throwing cards in people today with the whatever. But I think that would be a really cool looking thing. Again, does it make a whole lot of sense flipping a throwing card and killing someone or a skeleton? No, not necessarily, but there's a lot of things in Magic that don't make sense in Sea of Thieves. I think that would be kind of a right up Sea of Thieves alley. Again, we know that pirates gambled. We know they played dice. We know they played playing cards. They gambled a lot. That was something that they did to either, get their money or lose it and have to go back out on the seas to get more. But to having a skin that's literally you're throwing playing cards to kill things, I just think that would be a lot of fun, goofy, and right down Sea of Thieves alley. Moving on to the double barrel, though, I did have a lot of fun with the double barrel. I do feel that it's a little clunky. Now, I did mention the servers are rubber banding a little bit. They're jittery. I can't necessarily put my finger on if, in fact, the reasoning for the gun feeling clunky. I can't find if it is, in fact, the servers being a little clunky or if it's actually the gun. But I do have to say I am enjoying that. It feels a lot like the traditional flintlock that you're used to, but again with that charge shot being able to shoot 2 at a time. I think it is a lot of fun. I was having a blast with it yesterday, and in fact, the ending of that 4-hour Fort of Fortune, I knew the boss was getting low, so I switched to the double barrel knowing that there's a commendation for it. Popped a charge shot, killed the boss, got my commendation. Pissed off Patty, my good buddy Patty, pissed him off because I got the commendation, which unlocks a new skin for that weapon. He plays a lot more than me, so when I get a commendation before him, he gets a little irritated. So it's kind of funny, but we had a lot of fun with that. And I did get I think it was the Admiral, the blue Admiral double barrel, which, to be honest, looks kind of like a big Lego brick with a handle. But a lot of the Admiral stuff kind of looks that way. But I got to check. I didn't have a chance to play with the skin yesterday. I did have to end the stream abruptly due to some personal issues. So I apologize for those watching. And I had just said that I was going to do a longer stream, but some personal things came up and I had to quickly end it and go deal with those. which you can see that at the end of the vlog. I just run back into the studio, like hit the end button, and well, you don't see me run back out, but I just turn around and run back out. When I got done with the gym today and got down here to get my notes put together for this episode, Sea of Thieves was still launched. OBS was still launched. My studio light for lighting this mug up and my camera were all still on. Like literally, I ran in, I hit the off button on the stream and ran out the door, and I didn't come back to the office last night. So, yeah, it was I had to go. I had to go. But I want to see what they do with more of the skins. Right. I want to see more skins for the double barrel. You know, I'll take the skins for the what is it, the throwing knives. But again, for me, it's like I like to find that skin that matches my pirate, that style, and mostly my style is green and black, so the obsidian stuff. So whenever that launches, I'll be very happy. But I had a lot of fun with the double barrel. It really does feel like your traditional flintlock, but with the charge shot. Now again, the charge shot felt a little clunky. I had to remember, instead of a traditional, click boom, it's click hold release boom. So there's definitely some practice I'm going to have to get used to, but I had a lot of fun with that gun. It really felt like a replacement to the flintlock to me. Again, got to play with it some more. I did switch back to the normal flintlock that I'm used to quite a few times, but I'm going to have to play with it more. But it was a lot of fun. It was fun to play with some new weapons. I've talked about new weapons for a while on the show, including boarding axes. Throwing knives never really came to mind. The double barrel pistol definitely came to mind, but the boarding axe was a big one for me, and I just think it was a lot of fun. Now, I'm not so excited for the harpoon gun. That makes zero sense to me. But again, it plays off the whole Monkey Island thing and what they added with the zip lines and the harpoon tightrope walking. It adds to that, and it is goofy, kind of like my playing card knife skin. But I don't know what that's going to do with the game. I'm anxious to see what that does with the game. But that one I'm not too up on. But I was very excited for the throwing knives and the double barrel. And I had fun with them, which is what's important when you're playing a video game. Speaking of tightrope walking on the harpoon line, I am bad at that. Okay, when I slow walk, easy, I could do that. When I run, screw that, I'm falling in all the time. I was struggling to stay balanced on that thing. Like, you'd start to lean this way, I would put the arrow key or whatever it is that. WASD, I would hold that down to move myself back, and I would overcorrect and fall off the other side. I was struggling with that. I just ended up just jumping in the water and swimming to the freaking ladder. That is a coordination skill that I don't possess in real life, and when it's in a video game and I have to use the balance keys, that is a coordination and skill that I do not have in video games either. I'll continue to play with it and goof around with it, but yeah, I'm just going to be jumping in the water and swimming to the ladder. You're not going to be having any, hit bow magic, harpoon to a ship in front of me, balance myself over, anchor the boat, you're not going to have any of that with me, because I would harpoon the boat, start walking over, fall flat into the water, miss the board on my ship, and just be stranded in the ocean with no mermaids. That would be the outcome if I tried to do it. It's no. Mm-mm. Nope, it's not going to happen. It's not happening. But it's cool to see people utilizing it, and it was fun to see on there. I do like the zip lines, though. The zip lines and on the different islands, that's a lot of fun. It was really making it easy to traverse some of those islands that are a little bit something like I was doing a Skull Keep or whatever, and it has a zip line on it. There's not too much that does at Skull Keep, because you can just jump in that pool. I think Skull Keep's the one with the pool, and just swim, and you're basically out of the water anyways. But it's more fun to do the zip line down. And in fact, when we were having that big battle for the Fort of Fortune there, There was, in fact, a moment where I was low on health and running from one of the guys that had fired themselves over to the island that kept coming back, and he was chasing me down with a sword, and I jumped on the zip line and just glided away from him to a barrel, picked up food, ate the food, and turned around and killed him. And I was like, yes. Yes, that was a cool moment. That was a cool moment. So yeah, I'm having fun with the zip lines, but the harpoons with the balancing, that's going to take a lot of practice. And I'll be honest, I probably will always suck at that. So there you go. One thing that did happen that I know there was some conversation in our Discord about, and I can see it on both sides. They have temporarily suspended new emissary rewards. So for right now, and it did say indefinitely, suspending the emissary rewards in season 12. So any emissary reward for getting the top ledger that has been in the past since they changed that system with emissary 2.0 is what I'm calling it. Those are the awards. Those are the rewards that you can earn and continue to earn through season 12 and maybe into the future. I'm hoping it's not a permanent halt. I know obviously that frees up some talent in order to work on other places, but those emissary rewards really are reasons that people log in each month and play the game each month. I know when they took them out originally, when they launched emissary originally and released them, and then they kind of stopped. It did kind of take away reasons for players to log in because, again, people want to collect those cosmetics. People want to get that new stuff. Now, why do I think it's a good idea to pause it right now? I know for players who have been playing, that's kind of frustrating because it does take away that, monthly login and why. But for new players who might be coming back to the game, players who are coming in from PS5, they haven't had the opportunity to play, and they are so far behind on that stuff that they'll probably never catch up. So I think a quick pause on it, letting some people catch up over season 12. That's hopefully 3 months of catch up that they can do. 3 sets, basically, if you're doing top ledger each month. 3 sets that they could catch up on, and then potentially unlocking it and going for season 13. I would be and I know many people would be very disappointed if this is a death of the emissary system as far as getting rewards. I really hope that's not the case, or if they're evolving the system into something new this year, that would be kind of cool. Maybe an emissary 3.0. I don't know, but the temporary pause I'm okay with. Seeing the words like indefinitely are really concerning to me because that happened when they first rolled out emissaries, and it did feel really bad, and it did stop players from logging in. So we will see what happens, but for me, someone who doesn't have a lot of playtime and definitely needs to catch up on the emissaries, I am okay with it. I know some folks are very frustrated who are caught up on them, and they're like, well, that's kind of why we play. I get it. Stay strong. Hopefully Rare will do the right thing. I'm really hoping they don't abandon it because it is truly a reason why people log in and play their game. Well, folks, it is a shorter episode this week. I, again, apologize. I haven't had a chance really, like I said, aside from the stream yesterday, to dive in and play the game and tell you guys some stories. So I apologize for the break in the short episode, but I hope it gets you a quick listen and you can get back to your life. By the way, you could always email the show ideas or topics you want me to cover. You can join our Discord and throw out ideas there. I love to hear from you guys and hear what you would like me to cover and talk about. It can be lore, it can be gameplay, it can be whatever you want me to cover. Obviously, if I get the get my schedule sorted and I get the other podcast going, it'll still be under the Pirate Talk Radio, but it'll have a different name, so folks who are not interested in listening to that, they can just skip. I believe I'm going to call it Captain's Log or something like that, Davrim's Log or something like that. It'll be more of a personal talk. It'll be more of what I've got going on in life and my thoughts on things that are going on. So, but it will be named differently. The episode name will be different, so you can choose to skip that if it's something you don't want to listen to, because most likely it won't be Sea of Thieves related. But again, Pirate Talk Radio is in my mind, it was always built to be bigger than Sea of Thieves. It's just we focused on Sea of Thieves because that's what we love to play. So hopefully I can get that going and provide you guys some additional content. And the idea of that is I don't need to be sitting in my studio to record that episode. My idea is I can record that kind of on the go, and it'll be like a quick maybe 15-minute or less episode. But still working on that. Stay tuned. But guys, thank you very much. Again, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your love and your support as always. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you next time on Pirate Talk Radio.